Let's look at how to format text and paragraphs in Microsoft Word. Now, as you can see, I've got some basic text here that we're going to use as an example. And first of all, we're going to look at how to format text. So there's a lot of things we can do to text to make a document more inviting. For example, if I triple click here, I can come up and simply change the text color to make this paragraph stand out. So that's one thing that I can do. What I want to show you is how do I select if I want to do specific words. Well, first of all, if I double click on a specific word, it'll bring up a mini toolbar by default unless you've shut it off. And here I could do things like bold, italicize, and underline. And I'm going to give you an example of that by using the shortcut keys. Control B is bolding, and if you notice up here, it turns on the bold. Control I for italicize. I'll then do Control I again to turn it off. Control U to underline, and I'll turn that off. Now, strike through. Of course, I can just strike through a word. I might use that to make a point that this is not what was said. This, by the way, is not modifying or putting notes in or tracking changes. That's done differently. Okay, this is actually a font style that we could use. Superscript and Subscript. Let me put in H2O so that we can, H2O, there we go, so that we can look at subscript. So of course, subscript would put the 2 below. That's not normally how we'd see H2O, but superscript would put it above so that we could format that correctly as we would expect to see it. Okay, we can also do things like changing a section to word art, so we could apply a word art to a section to make it stand out. Notice we can do outlines. There's a lot of amazing things we can do with word art. Not necessarily used in a paragraph much, but for titles, etc. Notice I can also highlight just like I would a highlighter and then change font, which we've looked at. Finally, just a few more basics. I can increase the size of a word or a paragraph or whatever just by increasing and decreasing. Okay, there are some additional formats here that you should know. Sentence case is, of course, going to put an uppercase at the starting character of a sentence. All lowercase is going to make it all lowercase. All uppercase is going to, of course, make it all uppercase. Pretty even. Now, notice here there is the idea, and I'll show you why I tend to use this one. If capitalize each word, okay, so that if it's a title, now if I accidentally had my caps lock on and I typed it in reverse, I can then come back and capitalize and it would change it. So with the toggle case, so that's what you're looking at there. Now, real quick, I showed you that if I wanted to modify one word, I can just double click. With this word highlighted, if I hit and hold the control key, I can double click and select other words that I want to modify. So I'll just throw a bold on there. Now, if I want to do a sentence, I can come and get my cursor out till it's a arrow, click one time, it highlights the sentence. Now anything I do is going to be done to that sentence. To change an entire paragraph, I can just triple click, 1, 2, 3, and then from there I can apply, let's go ahead and apply green to this entire font of this paragraph. So that's how I would do that. Now let's quickly look at paragraph alignment. I'm going to double click on this paragraph and use it as an example. Now you'll see the alignment change. I think it's good to see it in the highlighted. Notice it's currently left aligned. I'm going to go ahead and center it on page. It's going to center each line to the margins of the page. Right align, so if I have a use for right align, depending on what culture you're in, some cultures right align their language. And then finally justify, and in justify, I'm going to click off of this. This is what we see in magazines and books and newspapers, where our lines and words are evenly spaced so that they create an even left margin and an even right margin. All right, so that's that. Also, just to note, line spacing. If I'm clicked anywhere, by the way, in the paragraph, because it knows it's a paragraph by this paragraph mark that you see I've turned on and off, I know this is a paragraph. I don't have to highlight it to make changes. I can actually just have my cursor in the paragraph, and it will also make changes. Let me go ahead and justify this, and we can look at alignment. So if you notice currently it's at 1.5. I can change it to 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and then I have custom line options that I can do. Now, this is a great way, by the way, to fill the page with content. Of course, you don't want to get overly eager here and make something, you know, a line spacing of 3 and expect your writing teacher to take that as a 5-page essay, but you get the idea. So there we are. There's some line spacing. Again, I can customize it. Now what I want to finish this video with is just an introduction to elements. So when we're talking about document elements, we're talking about all these things up here. You know, ability to insert online pictures, shapes, lines. We'll do these in more videos. But there's so much more we can do. We can freehand draw in a Word document now. We can apply a style and a design. We can do layout. Now while we're on the layout tab, because I'm in this paragraph, if I wanted to add a little bit more white space here, what I can do is I can come up here, okay, and provide some space before this paragraph. If you notice, it's spacing down, and after this paragraph, provide more space. So if I want that paragraph to stand out, I can do that as well. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope it helps. Take care.